What up, y'all? Garrett here with Mike and Mike from Taylor Guitars to tell us what's so builders about these editions. So who is this builder, Mike?
Well, the builder would be Andy Powers, who is the master guitar designer and also our president and CEO at Taylor Guitars now. And this was part of his brainchild that said, hey, when I play guitar, I wish it had these features. So he came up with all these playability features, which, Mike, you could probably point out a bunch of them, that really add to the player experience.
One of the things that keeps people coming back to playing guitar is comfort, and I think that, while you can fall in love with an acoustic guitar visually, you need to have that kind of tactile experience that invites you back over and over and over. So the Builder's Edition, also kind of lovingly known at Taylor Guitars as the Director's Cut, has things like the finish, which is a little different. It's a silent satin finish, so there's really not a lot of sound as you're moving around it. Great for folks in the studio or people who are trying to do at-home recording. Everything else on the guitar in which you touch, whether it's the edge, whether it's the bridge, whether it's the fingerboard, all those edges have been rolled off. So I like to say that it's kind of like moving from the original Vitamins to the gel cap. Everything just is way more sleek and smooth.
Yeah, and then again with the whole playability and comfort, the beveled edge specifically and the contour cutaway give even more playability beyond the standard roundedness of all the other edges. We call that chamfered edges. Taking the gel cap and going even further. Now we're fully into Flintstone Vitamins at this point, I think. But it just adds that much more. It adds a little more flavor, much like Flintstone Vitamins. Unless you don't like them, pick another vitamin. But at the same time, the Builder's Edition model has all these in it to really, as I said, enhance your playing experience. If you play a guitar more comfortably, do you play it better?
Well, you think you are going to, and that you're going to invite yourself back over and over and keep practicing. I mean, I think even with guitar players who are just starting out, they end up buying or getting into a guitar that they feel like they're fighting, and that's where their progression can end. So if the guitar just feels like it fits you really well, it's ergonomic, it's comfortable, it's balanced, you're going to want to come back to it over and over again.
And then topping it all off, we have the Godot tuners that we put on all of our Builder's Edition model guitars. And why? Well, first of all, they look great. Second of all, they feel better. The buttons just feel better, but most importantly, they're high ratio. So it keeps tune really precise. You can really fine tune. And again, going back to the recording experience, you want to have really precise tuning. You can kind of fake it at a live show if you just play it a little bit harder, right? But in a recording studio, you want that precision. So having the Godot tuners on the Builder's Edition guitars just adds that extra level of professionalism that might put you over the top.
So how many guitars are there in the Builder's Edition collection, Mike and Mike?
Well, actually, you can get into the Builder's Edition collection at the 300 series with the 324 CE. Builder's Edition 324 CE, that is. That's going to come with all of the appointments that we were just discussing. But then from there, into the 5, 6, 7, and up, you're going to find different shapes, different appointment suites. Mike, what do we have in the 5 and 700s?
So 500 and 700 series Builder's Editions, they represent our Grand Pacific body shape, which is our version of a slope shoulder dreadnought. Where there is no cutaway, there is a pickup option, but you're going to get all those chamfered edges and all those comfort features with the silent satin finish. And it's going to showcase that torfied spruce that everybody kind of loves. It kind of gives you that jump start on that first couple of years of owning that guitar. It kind of plays it in a little bit.
And then on the 600 series, we have our Builder's Edition 614 CE and a 12-string 12-fret, the Builder's Edition 652 CE. Now both of these are big leaf maple bodies, which tends to be a little bit brighter, but having that torfied spruce top really warms everything up a little bit. Like you said, it ages that guitar a bit, gives a little more depth to the sound right out of the box. And that 12-string 12-fret is pretty awesome because it's actually reverse strung, so you're actually getting even more bass out of a maple 12-string, even in a smaller body. But next up would be the 800 series, that spruce rosewood combo. So what do we have there?
Yeah, so you jump up to the 800 series, you get the Builder's Edition 816 CE. Everybody recognizes our Grand Symphonies now with V-Class bracing because they have that really unique looking sound port cutaway. It opens up that secondary aperture. You get more of a symphonic kind of experience. The air is moving around the body a little bit. But again, chamfered edges, the sound port cutaway, which is very unique to that particular body shape. And then from there you move back to the 900 series.
Yeah, with the Builder's Edition 912 CE. And this happens to be one of my favorite guitars in the Builder's Edition collection. It's still spruce rosewood, but it just has that extra elegance that you find in the 900 series, a little extra abalone shell around the guitar. It just looks classic. It's available in the natural and the wild honeyburst, same as the 600 series that are available in the wild honeyburst and natural as well. But I think it's just a little bit classier because of all the extra appointments.
And our very favorite at the Music Zoo would be the Koa series representation for the Builder's Edition, the K24 CE and the K14 CE. This particular one being all Koa all around. So where do y'all see the different Builder's Edition guitars fitting different player profiles?
Well, if you start with the 300 series, and it's a great question, by the way, because everybody wants to figure out, like, where do I plug in with my next guitar? But when you start at the 324 CE Builder's Edition, it's going to be that urban ash tonal pairing, and you're going to get this real punchy, naturally mid-range emphasized kind of footprint, that sonic footprint. So for folks who are doing just classic acoustic tones, maybe duets, somebody who's just looking for a great recording instrument, I think you'd be hitting it out of the park starting right there.
And then you have with the 5 and 700 series, as we talked before, being our slope shoulder dreadnought, our take on a slope shoulder dreadnought. It's more of a traditional kind of sound, especially with the spruce mahogany in the 500 series, the 517, and the 717 having spruce rosewood, very classic tone wood pairings in and of themselves. So again, more of a traditionalist, more of a, I want to say maybe slightly rustic-y kind of sound, but with less of the muddiness that you get in the low mid usually in those big boxy dreadnoughts. So a little bit more clarity in a more traditional package.
When you move to the 600s and we talk about the 614 CE Builder's Edition, and truth be told, a sunburst really makes no difference to the sonic output, but maple being as dense as it is has a really natural inherent cut. So if I'm a worship leader, if I'm a front person for a rock band or somebody with a lot of instrumentation going on around me, that maple spruce combination kind of sits right out here in front, so I can kind of cut through a mix and hold its own clarity. The sonic footprint though is a little bit more truncated compared to rosewood or some of those more exotic timbres. So you're going to get this real crisp, transparent, and balanced voice out of that guitar.
With the 800 series, we're going to go almost in the opposite direction. We're widening the EQ because of the spruce rosewood, but also because of the sound port cutaway that you find in the Builder's Edition 816 CE. So with that extra aperture, again, you're getting more of that symphonic tone. It is a grand symphony shape, so take that for what it is. But it does widen the sound as far as the EQ, but also the swath of the audience that it's filling with that extra aperture. It's widening the space it's filling. And it's great for recording for that reason, because you can mic it up in many different directions and get many different sounds out of it to complete your recordings.
With the 900 series Builder's Editions, the thing to take away here is that at present, it's a grand concert body shape. So where I would say most people are kind of gravitating towards this smaller acoustic frame, whether it's ergonomics, whether it's just the sheer need to not want to put your arm over a large acoustic sound box, it's going to play one size bigger based on the architecture that's inside. So you get the elements of the Builder's Edition feature sets, but you also get a lot of that artistry that goes into it, a lot of the shell appointments and the edge treatment that kind of make it just look a little bit more like functioning art in the 900s. So Garrett, you're holding the Builder's Edition K24C. I mean, what's the mojo with this thing? Like, what do you love about this guitar?
So the thing that I enjoy about Koa is that it sounds almost as good as it looks. It's got a really wide tonal response. The frequency ranges that it covers, you know, from the top end on down are really great. And it opens up over time. I feel like you get more bass response the more that you play the guitar, right?
Yeah, we use a lot of Koa at Taylor, and that's because we truly believe in the wood. It is sonically almost perfect. It gives you a nice balance of highs, mids, and again, over time, that low end comes into play because it is a stiffer wood, so it takes a little longer to break in. When it does, though, it's amazing. And yeah, it looks pretty darn good to begin with. You can hang it on the wall and call it art, and you can take it off the wall and make other art with it, so that's pretty cool.
The last thing I'd mention about Koa is it's one of the points, the key points of Taylor Guitar's sustainability efforts in our Forestry Initiative project. So in Hawaii right now, we're actually working on land that we've recently acquired to reestablish our own Koa forest, and from there perpetuate more Koa guitars for the industry. But through those means, it allows our sustainable footprint to kind of continue and create guitars that look like this over and over again without having to strip them from forests that are probably already stressed to the point where they can't get back.
So that's it for the Builder's Edition guitars. If you have any questions on these or anything Taylor, give us a call and check out themusiczoo.com.